I think that's quite nice picture. I think in the first session you were talking a little about the different kind of parts or how they
Yeah.
are related to different action systems. And here we can see daily life part example, which could have more like this kind of like a working part of the client who might have some skills and is able to manage, for example, in professional field. And it's quite common that part, quite many clients, at least in my experience, feel that part mainly in their hands and shoulders, and because they are using that part through their hands in the world.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be somewhat true. Do you find that that part is sometimes felt in the back as well?
At well as well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But it's more like what we are saying here, adult roles, or more like a role that is more kind of related to the person's actual age and the current state of living. Let's say
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, yeah.
But then we have lots of those what we called emotional parts or stuck in trauma time parts.
Yes. And those are what we talked about last time, that they're rooted in the defense, in the instinctive defenses of cry for help, fight, flight, freeze, and shut down, feign death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And these, of course, are the parts that quite often kind of cause a lot of unstabilized states and dysregulation in nervous system and sometimes when those parts kind of change, the changes can be very quick. For example, one moment the client can feel very hyper aroused and
Yeah.
restless in some part of her or his body, and then suddenly another part kicks on and in, and then they might go to the collapse state.
Yeah. And what is written here is actually from a young African American client of mine who'd experienced in this, in the States here, a lot of abuse and a lot of racial trauma as well.
Mm,
So like, she connected her addiction to the flight part. Like she said, that was how she escaped, was she was alcohol primarily. So what I want to say is that, clients identify the parts. This isn't generic for every client. They have to
no,
identify the parts and how they live in the body. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. This is just an example how it
Yeah.
might be with an individual client.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
another thing that I have found, at least here in Finland, when I have worked with complex trauma clients, that quite often those very scared or cry for help child parts, the clients feel those parts in the core of the body.
That was really true for this client. She felt it in her chest. Like she said, I think she said her heart, but she felt this panic in
Mm.
her core and around her heart and her chest, uh, which she associated with the cry for help. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's quite interesting because if we think about uh, auto-regulation and interactive regulation skills, and in sensory motor psychotherapy, we quite often think it that way that when we think about interactive regulation, it's more related to the hands and feet and like going forward or going away kind
Yeah.
of actions. But then if we think about this auto-regulation, we quite often notice that it's pretty much related to the core of the body, the chest area, the belly area.
I think that's really true. Like
Yeah.
when you think of how clients regulate by themselves, it does have to do with the core. It doesn't have to do with reaching out or pushing away or, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's absolutely true. Yeah. Hmm.
So this is a one map about how the physical correlates of the parts can show up, and I think that's very useful if we can start to have this kind of discussion, like making the questions like, okay, when that parts gets activated, where do you feel it in your body? What is the
Yeah.
location of that part mainly? Of course, it's not maybe always the same, but there might be some like logical things happening that it's quite often certain location in your body.
Yep. Yep. And with this client, with Jamie, it was really important to acknowledge the personal trauma, but also the cultural and the racial trauma that she experienced, because it was definitely in the wider culture as well.
Of course, yeah,
Really related to her complex trauma. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And what is the benefit when we are able to start to map the physical correlates of the part? In my experience, it really helps us to be more concrete about how the parts gets activated. Like it's more concrete when we are able to kind of notice that something in my body experience changes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Marco and I were talking about earlier that we can really do this in two different kind of states of consciousness. With the clients who are able, we can really have them mindfully be aware of the part and experience it, and really kind of say, oh, wow, I can really feel that freeze part and all this constriction. But for some clients, it's safer to just do it more as a cognitive exercise because they're not ready to go into their bodies in that way yet. But the cognitive exercise of just talking about it from a top-down perspective can kind of prepare them to be able to,
Mhm.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that's already a titration, like how much we are connected and aware of what's
yeah.
happening in my body. And it's very important that the client has this freedom to move back and forth.
And that's part of how we teach self-regulation too. We don't require that they're mindful all the time because sometimes being mindful can be really
That's
disorganized.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe the first thing that I try to do with my clients, that slowly start to notice where do you feel that part in your body.
Yeah. 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 It's a great,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, sorry.
Well, no, it's just a great first step to start to develop.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they can identify the parts rather than just identify with them.
Mm. And another way to work that came to my mind now is also that for some clients it might be useful to have this kind of human body figure and mark those parts with different colors to the picture.
Oh,
That
yeah.
will also give a nice safety distance to really feel it in your body, but kind of put it in a picture,
Yes, exactly.
but still having the kind of connection, what do you notice in your body, but then how you can show it in a picture.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I think there's lots of ways you can use the picture. I mean, sometimes, you know, you might be able to send the client home with the picture as homework and mark, think about it and reflect on it during the week and mark it. Other times it's much safer to do it in session with the therapist. So you can use it in
Mm.
different ways.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then we can start to kind of go a little bit more detailed information, like what kind of actions are available with this when this part gets activated, and what you kind of lose when these parts get activated. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's I think that's really critical because then they start to connect their behavior also with the parts and start to
absolutely.
recognize, oh, when I, turn to alcohol or something, it's really the flight part trying to escape. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And then we are already moving a little bit to the direction. What is the function or the goal of the different part?
This is so important, I think, because each part kind of has its own version of reality and the own version of what the goals are. Lisa and I talked about that a little bit last time. So that means that the actions and the words that are, are okay with one part can really be experienced as terrifying to another part. Yeah. And we I think we did that last time where we did an exercise where we reached out, like as if you're reaching to someone you care about. Did we do that last time? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And then you imagine like, oh, you shouldn't do that. There's another part that goes, oh, don't do that. It's dangerous. You're going to get hurt. So the seeking connection can be great for one part, but not for the part that's rooted in trauma time.
I think that's very important. Start to kind of know these kind of things because quite often, if we just follow one part's desires or what they want to do or what they need, that quite often have some flashback afterwards with another part kind of really kind of acting because it wasn't okay for that other part to do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
action. Yeah,
I think we have to be aware that we're always working with the whole system, and
absolutely.
we have
Yeah,
to, I don't know, I always felt like I have to be really sensitive that when even if I'm working with one part, there are lots of other parts in there that might object, and often we want to find out what their reaction is as well.
that's right. Yeah. And I think the quite important question that I have noticed that I needed to remember as a therapist is that when client says that there is an impulse to do something, kind of say, okay, that's really good that you notice that impulse, but when you are checking the whole system of yourself, is there some other impulses at the same time, which might be
Exactly.
totally contradict? There might be an impulse to reach out, but when they kind of take a moment, not just following it, they notice there is another impulse to pull away or push away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or to retreat, or they start getting panic, or yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then we can start to work with those two different contradictory actions. Like how can we study how those can meet with
Yeah.
each other? Yeah,
So we're really kind of, and I think therapists who are just beginning often get kind of into trouble because they're working with one part and they don't understand that there are all these other parts. And you can, um, I mean, the therapy can get stuck, but also clients can get they can start to perceive you as a perpetrator as well.
that's
Parts of
right.
the client can, yeah. And
Yeah.
so that can really derail the therapy if you're not aware of that you're working with
Mm.
the system. Yeah.
And I think that that can easily happen in the beginning of therapy process when we are not yet even aware like what kind of parts there are.
Yeah.
So we kind of learn all the time while we get further with the working process and
Yeah.
get to know more like what is the whole system of the client.